Okay, Gilbert, we're talking still, let me show you one more picture before you do that. We're still talking about that 100th anniversary celebration in 1949, and here's another picture from that day.
These are my people too. These are the people that gave me the green light.
That was the administrative board.
That's the administrative board, and these were the people who believed in me. And I believed in them too. But I believed in everybody down there from that size on up. It didn't make any difference to me. But these were the people that I had to convince. And they certainly were loyal and dedicated to me. And once everything got going down there, it was just really a pleasure. And I'd get up on that podium every Sunday and beg, and I'd give them a baker, my number at the bakery. And you know, by 7 or 8 o'clock every Sunday night, I had gotten what I had asked for that Sunday morning. Would you believe that? So we just kept moving.
Yeah. Now, by the time that picture was taken, you'd also repainted the sanctuary too, hadn't you?
No, we didn't get the sanctuary yet. We completed the basement, and we had those 2 towers that I showed you earlier on the church. And we got the tower that would lead up from the basement to the sanctuary in the church. We got that tower, and we got a little bit in the sanctuary. But later on, in 1951, we had our organ done over, and they had made me, the same group had made me chairman of the music committee, and I knew nothing about music. And but Miss Samuels, our organist, knew a lot of music, and Brother Reese, and a lady that's still living that I hope that you'll see if you haven't seen. Her name is Miss Sheridan, and she had one of the prettiest voices. She lived down on Spring Street. You know what I'm talking about, Tom? Nellie Lucienberry. And so when I needed advice, and I always needed it, they gave it to me, and we had the organ was done over, and I mean it was done over in big style. And then we had new carpet, and then we really went at it. And it took us a little longer than 1949, but we got most of the job done. And, we were real proud of it. It took a little bit longer. Robert Man was with us for a good while. He was with us long enough for us to get things shaped up, and that was really important.
Now I want to. Well, you had wanted to tell me about this program here.
When I came out today, I thought about the 100th anniversary bulletin that I had that Willa gave me, Mr. Reese's wife, Mrs. Reese, after he died. It was something she wanted to give me, and she gave me his bulletin. He was superintendent of L.H. Jenkins, bookbinder, over on Guard Street. And he made the cover and with a gold lettering and all on here. And she gave me this, and of course I have one. And I thought this would be an appropriate time for me to present it to my minister, to let it become a part of the archives of St. Andrew's United Methodist Church, and because he was the chairman of the board at that time. And Reverend Al, I would like to present to you this, to the board and to this church.
We will treasure this. We will put it in a very safe place, and it really will be a very important part of the history of this church. And we're grateful. Thank you so much.
That has a lot of history of our street church, as well as the bulletin for that Sunday.
Yeah. Wow. I'll look at it later when the tape's not running. Now, Gilbert, I hate to shift gears on you this way because I know it's not a happy thing. But the time came when was it January the 15th, 1968?
January 15th, 1968. I had just left the Continental Baking Company and to go home, and I went on. I left the bakery a little after 12 o'clock, and it did take me about 10 minutes to get there because I lived over in Forest Hill Park. And I had just gotten home and got ready for bed, and the telephone rang, and it said, "Gilbert, your church is on fire." And I put my clothes back on and went back, and other than losing my members of my family, it was one of the most devastating things that's ever happened to me in my life. As a matter of fact, it was the most devastating thing that ever happened to me, other than members of my family.
I want to show you some pictures that Joan Wilson gave me, and I've had them, I've blown them up so we can see them a little bit better. Talk to me about the way the church looked that day.
This is exactly the way it looked here. I'll tell you that. And this was I thought 1949 was trying times. But I believe this was the toughest of all. We were kind of, things that was real tough, you know. You're sitting there in your church is in ashes. And, well, where am I going? What am I going to do? And our sister church had just burned down the year before. Over there,
Thanks Memorial.
Memorial,
Yeah.
Monroe Park.
Yeah.
And I stuck my neck out that day when, after that happened. And I didn't know what to do this trip, and I said, well, I can't stick my neck out in the hole. Anyway, we kind of, I'll just kind of skip this. I think we could have been treated a lot better, I'll just say this. But we had a friend up in the next block by the name of Reverend Herb Baldwin. That my good friend over there knows, Tom Edwards, he also knows him. And he came to our rescue.
Harry was the rector at St. Andrew.
St. Andrew was a Episcopal church. Yeah. And he came and he saw the board chairman, of course, and that kind of stuff. And he saw me and he said, Gilbert, all of us. He said, we have a school around now that we don't use on the weekends, and you people are welcome to use that school until you can come up with something that will help you solve your problem. And in the meantime, they had started a church out here called Grace Methodist, and from what I could understand, or what we could understand, they were having a hard time trying to get off of the ground. And so it was brought to our attention by Dr. Leitner, if I recall,
George Leitner,
who was the district superintendent at that time. You got 10 acres of ground out there if you want to put a building on it. And we could do a little bit about that. And I would like to add a little bit to that too. After we had a fire around there one night before we burned down with a stove. You remember the stove was set down in the basement? Oh, yeah. Well, they were doing some work around there one day, and somebody smelled smoke. And it caught on fire with the rafters between the ceiling and the sanctuary in the basement. And that's what saved it that day. And so another family of people, two families of people, the Seifert family and the Tucker family, families were all bricklayers. So Gilbert has got another task. So he gets them two families together, and he asks them when they put flue linings, and then chimney. And I said, you know, the building is old, it didn't have it, that's why we had the problem. And they very graciously, is that what you want us to do? Yes, sir. We'll be happy to put back. I said, I know, but we need them in that back chimney where the furnace is too. So anyway, they spent about a month on salads. Those two families, the Tucker family, and there's a family of those people there right now that come there. Charles Sneed married Mr. Tucker's daughter, and I'm trying to think of her name. Linda Tucker had two children. Joyce. And they are members of our church. And then the Seifert family, they have all died that moved out to this church, except one daughter. They have a daughter who married Maurice Dooling, who is a member of this church. And they are great